My name is Norman and I'm 72. 3 months back I received the news, stage 3 colon cancer. The doctor's office felt chilly and impersonal. I recall focusing on a digestive system chart on the wall while she outlined treatments, statistics, all of it. And my first thought wasn't fear or rage, just a quiet, odd realization. So this is how my narrative concludes. What nobody mentions, though, is how the news settles in. The initial week, you're in a daze. You inform loved ones, schedule visits, study protocols. Survival instinct takes over. The real impact honestly arrives in week 2. It truly lands. One morning I awoke, saw my wife beside me, and tears came, not from a fear of death. I cried because suddenly my whole life was visible like a chart and every missed turn was clear. For 38 years I worked as an accountant. 38. I was capable, earned a stable income, supported my family, retired with savings. Here's what I never confessed until cancer made me look. I disliked it. Not always, but often. The harsh lighting, the endless data, the evaluations, the office dynamics. I endured it because it felt secure. It covered expenses because that's what dependable people do, isn't it? At 23, I dreamed of woodworking. I loved crafting with my hands. My grandfather taught me as a boy. We built a bookshelf when I was 12. It still sits in my home. But woodworking isn't a certain path. It's not reliable, so I chose accounting. My father called it sensible, and he was correct. It was sensible, it just wasn't me. I'm not advising anyone to abandon responsibility for a fantasy. That isn't practical. Obligations exist. Families need support. I understand. But there's a distinction between building a career and building a life. Most of us become so absorbed in the first that we neglect the second entirely. After the diagnosis, something changed. My oncologist proposed an intense regimen, chemo, maybe surgery. I consented, of course. But I also cleaned out my garage, organized a workshop, invested in proper tools, and returned to wood after decades. My wife worried I'd gone mad. "Norman," she said, "shouldn't you preserve your energy?" Perhaps she was right. Treatment exhausts me. Some days rising is a struggle, but on days I can work even briefly, I feel more present than I have in ages. Last week I completed a jewelry box for my granddaughter, walnut with maple details. It has flaws. My hands aren't as steady, but it's tangible. It's something I created. Cancer imparts a lesson nothing else can. Your time to become who you wish to be is not endless. You believe it is. In youth, 40 years seems boundless. Even at 50 or 60, you insist, there's still time. Tomorrow will come. But sometimes tomorrow does arrive, or it arrives with a clear endpoint attached. I've reflected much on regret lately. Not major scandals. I never betrayed my wife or broke the law. It's the silent regrets that linger. The gatherings I declined due to fatigue. The moments my children asked to play and I said, later, because work waited. The getaways my wife proposed that I delayed for practicality. All those small instances where I picked the secure choice over the vibrant one. My son visited recently. He's 47, in insurance. We sat in my workshop as I demonstrated a chisel technique. What he said next resonated deeply. "Dad, I never knew you could do this. I wish you'd shown me when I was young." I wish I had too. But I was occupied working late, being responsible, preparing for a future I assumed would never fade. Truth is, nobody likes to acknowledge we're all living with an endpoint. Each of us. Some simply have a more defined schedule. That may sound dark, but it's freeing once embraced. It means every decision you make now counts. Not eventually now, the oddest part of illness, how others behave toward you. Their voices grow gentle, their eyes show sympathy. They offer phrases like, "Stay strong, you can fight this." I'm grateful, yet sometimes I want to say, you should be posing these questions to yourself without a diagnosis as a catalyst. I'm not healed. The doctors are hopeful but cautious. Outcomes remain uncertain. I could have 5 years, 10, or 6 months. No one knows. But here's what has shifted. I no longer invest energy in what doesn't matter. I avoid political debates with relatives. I don't fret over market swings or compare my lawn to the neighbor's. Instead, I spend time in my shop. I have meaningful talks with my wife where we truly hear each other. I call my children not to counsel them, but to listen. I teach my granddaughter to sense wood grain, to sand with care, to practice patience. These are modest acts. They won't alter history, but they reshape my world, and that's what I have. If you're hearing this and thinking, "That's fine for Norman, but I can't leave my career to craft wood," you've missed my intention. I'm urging you to examine your life. Look closely and ask, am I truly living or merely occupying space? During chemo, about 2 hours in, the medication takes full effect. A metallic flavor fills your mouth. Your limbs grow leaden. In those minutes, I don't dwell on my profession or savings. I recall my wife's laughter. I remember the scent of fresh sawdust. I picture my daughter dozing against me on a long drive. These are what endure, all else is static. You might watch this and think, he's intense because he's unwell, perhaps. But I believe I'm finally truthful in a way I never permitted before. For 72 years, I followed instructions. I met expectations. I was a reliable worker, a devoted husband, a caring father, but I often failed the man I truly was. I didn't cherish what defined me. My grandfather once shared wisdom I only grasp now. He told me, "Norman, at the finale, no one will remember how tidy you kept your workspace." I thought he was just being quaint, perhaps cynical, but he was conveying something vital. He was telling me to truly live. If you take anything from my words, let it be this: don't await a health scare or personal disaster to grant yourself the freedom to lead the life you desire. You don't require approval. You already possess it. The real issue is whether you'll act on it. I began chemotherapy on a Tuesday. That Saturday, feeling unwell, I went to my shop and began a new endeavor, a hand-carved chess set for my son. Will I complete it? I can't say, but I'll attempt it because the attempt is what counts. Participating in what makes you feel alive is what counts. Some of you are in roles you dislike. Some are in unfulfilling relationships. Some possess aspirations you stored away years ago, assuring yourself you'd return to them eventually. That eventually keeps receding. Halt the delay. Begin now, not next week, not next year, today. I won't claim that pursuing passions resolves every issue or that faith guarantees success. Life isn't so simple, but I will state this. Living with purpose, even when difficult or frightening, is infinitely better than moving through the world half asleep. My outlook is uncertain, yet not without hope. I may overcome this, I may not. Regardless, the time I have left will be filled with meaningful actions, loved ones, and creations from my own hands. That's more than many can claim, even those in full health. By the way, if this subject speaks to you, I suggest 3 books that profoundly influenced me. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, and Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Read them. They'll transform your view of time and intention. I'll include links below. On this channel, I and others share insights and reflections from our journeys. If this resonated, consider subscribing and enabling alerts. If any part touched you, please comment. Share what you'll begin to change. Press the like button. Pass this along to someone who might need to hear it. I have more to share while I'm able. If you have a story of your own, something you feel others should hear, please use the form in the description. The next feature could be yours.